Hello, first and second graders. Today for our Super Science Wednesday, we're going to be reading Lesson 2 in your science book. That's pages 26 and 27. So make sure you turn to your science books, page 26, where we start with Lesson 2. What do the parts of a plant do? All right. Let's take a look over here at the yellow box in the top left-hand corner. This gives us our vocabulary words. These are going to be the important words we want to remember in our book for this lesson. Let's read them together. Let's pair it read. Teacher will say it, and then you can say it after me. Life cycle, seed, germinate, seedling, flower, pollen. Let's keep our eyes out for these darker words in our lesson as we go. What do the parts of a plant do? Get ready to learn. How do its flowers help a plant grow and change? Flowers can be colorful and beautiful. Many flowers smell sweet. Flowers are an important part of a plant. They help plants make seeds. So if I were to ask you, friends, why is a flower important? I would want you to remember flowers are important because they make the seeds. Try this. Can you name all the parts of a plant? Try it. Then make a model or a drawing of a plant. Try to label all the parts. Let's look at this plant right here. Can you name all the parts? I'm listening. Good. If you said flower, leaf, stem, and roots, that would make me happy. Those are the four biggest and most important parts of a plant that we want to remember and be able to identify in first and second grade. We're going to be modeling and drawing these plants and labeling them on Friday when we go to Piepenburg Park. So we'll hang on to that and do it at the park. Let's move on. We're going to skip page 27. Let's go on to page 28. Parts of a plant. Read with me if you can. Think about what you would do if you were hungry. You might ask for a snack. People and other animals must find food and eat it. Plants do not eat like you do. They do something you cannot. They make their own food inside their leaves. So why are leaves important? I'm listening. Can you tell me? If you were to say because they make their food in the leaves of a plant, and that's why the leaves are important to a plant, you'd be right. Remember that. God designed all the parts of a plant to work together. Each part of the plant is important. The roots take nutrients and water from the soil. The stem carries the nutrients and water to the leaves. The leaves use water with air and sunlight to make food. Then the stem carries the food to the rest of the plant. The nutrients are used to build plant parts. The food supplies energy for growth and for other life activities. Look at this bamboo. Isn't that beautiful? It says bamboo grows very quickly. Why do the stems of the bamboo have this shape? I'll tell you a little secret. They'll take a pole and they'll wrap the stem around that pole and it grows around and around. So to grow like this, bamboo needs the help of a gardener. Bamboo does not grow spirally like that in the natural environment. Let's look here on page 29. We can see something called a diagram. It's a text feature. Can you say diagram? A diagram has a picture with parts labeled. Say diagram. Good. Let's read flower. makes seeds so new plants can grow. Point to the stem. Moves water, nutrients, and food from one part to another, stores water and food, supports the plant, and makes food if it is green. Makes food, yes, if it is green. So if a stem is green, it helps make that food. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Does the stem have a lot of jobs? Sure does, doesn't it? Look at how big that box is. Let's look to leaf. Makes food for the plant to use to grow. Now point down here to the roots. Get water and nutrients from soil. Hold the plant in place. What's your favorite part of the plant, friends? Tell me, I'm listening. Very good. Let's think about it. What would happen to a plant if it did not have roots? Tell me, what do you think would happen? All right, let's move on to page 30. Plant life cycles. Living things go through many changes. You were once a small baby. You could not do many of the things that you can do today. You have changed as you have grown. Plants also change. A small plant has a few leaves. As the plant grows, it will grow more leaves. Some leaves will even grow larger as the plant gets older. A life cycle, here's one of our vocabulary words, so pay attention. A life cycle is all the stages of a living thing that goes through during its lifetime. Many plant life cycles begin with a seed. So where do life cycles begin? With a seed. That's right. Look at this picture over here. It says the seed of an oak tree is an acorn. It takes many years for an acorn to grow into a tall tree. Very good. Here it says Explore Lab, structured inquiry. What will you find if you open up a seed? It says, soak a bean seed for a few hours. Carefully split the seed in half. Observe the inside of the seed. Draw the parts you see. What could you see inside the seed? If we did that, if we split apart a seed, and you could do that at home, a bean, soak it for a few hours like they say, and then cut it open with your family. See if you can find that little tiny sprout inside the seed. Let's move on to page number 31. A seed. Pay close attention. There's another vocabulary word. A seed is the first stage of the life cycle for most plants. A seed has stored food and a tiny plant inside. When a seed gets water and the right temperature, it will germinate. To germinate is to sprout or start to grow. So if I were to ask you, friends, what does germinate mean? I would want you to remember it means to start to grow. And if I were to ask you what is inside of a seed, I would want you to remember it has stored food and a tiny plant inside. So a seed has two things inside. Remember that. Let's keep going. A young plant that has just started to grow is called a seedling. Can you say seedling? Stems sense light and grow toward it. The roots sense gravity and grow downward. The seedling will keep growing if its basic needs are met. It will grow into an adult. So isn't God amazing that He made these tiny little beans and seeds almost with a mind? They don't have a brain, but man, do they know what to do. Look at, the plant knows the stem should grow up, and then they know that the roots should grow down. Nobody's told them that. They just know it. God has made it so. I find that fascinating. They say if you were to turn this upside down, It would, no matter which way you turned this sprout or this seedling, it would always make sure it's growing down with its roots and up with its stem. Even if you were to flip it upside down in the middle of growing, it would change direction so that the roots were always down and the stem was always up. Isn't that fascinating? I love that about God. Here are some scriptures that you could read with your family. Mark 4, verse 26 through 27, if you'd like to read that with mom and dad. Plants with flowers. God designed all living things to make more living things like themselves. Making more plants is part of a plant's life cycle. Many adult plants make seeds. Seeds are one way plants make more plants. Some plants have flowers. Flowers, oh, pay attention, are parts of a plant that have petals and make seeds. Flowers have male parts and female parts. Pollen is a powder made by the male parts of a flower. A flower can make seeds when pollen lands on the female part of a flower. Pollen is carried from a flower to flower in many ways. Sometimes pollen is carried by insects such as bees. They'll land on the male part. The pollen will get all over their legs and feet and body. Then they'll fly to a female plant. And then that pollen will get all over the female plant, and then seeds will grow. Isn't that fascinating? Another way is the wind, friends. The wind can carry pollen from flower to flower. Let's go to page 33. Flowers. Flowers turn into fruit. The fruit of a plant protects the new seeds. If a seed is planted, it can start its own life cycle and make a new plant. The new plant will look like the plant the seed came from. Just like children will look like their parents, seeds will grow into plants that look like their parents. A female part of a flower is what turns into a fruit. An apple is a fruit. Let's come to page 34. Plants with cones. So first we had plants with flowers. Now we're going to talk about plants with cones. Not all plants use flowers to make seeds. Some plants have cones. Cones have scales inside of petals. The cones make and protect the seeds. Plants with cones do not have fruit. One plant you might know about that has cones is a pine tree. A pine tree starts its life cycle as a seed. It then grows into a seedling. The seedling will continue to grow throughout its life cycle. But instead of having flowers and fruit, it will have cones. This is the male cone of a pine tree. It makes pollen. This pine cone is female. God designed the pine cone to protect the seeds that grow inside. So say male, female. Let's make a connection. Farmers need to know about the life cycles of the plants they grow. Choose several fruits or vegetables. Draw what the plant looks like. Make sure you include the flowers and the fruit. When do farmers plant the seeds? And when do they harvest the crops? These are some extra things you can do with mom and dad if you would like. Let's go ahead and see if you remember all the important things from our book. Summary. What do the parts of a plant do? The parts of a plant work together. They make food. They supply energy for life activities. Plant parts also help the plant make more plants like itself. We're going to be doing this, or you can do it at home, but we're going to be doing it together. Graphic organizer, number 1. Make a list comparing and contrasting plants with flowers and plants with cones. How are they the same? How are they different? Number 2. Explain what a seed needs to germinate. I'll listen. Do you remember that big word, germinate? What does a seed need to germinate? If you said the right temperature and water, you're right. Number 3, test prep. Which part of a plant gets water and nutrients from the soil? Is it A, roots, B, leaves, C, pollen, or D, stems? I'm listening. If you said A, roots, you're correct. Number 4, explain how plants make food. Tell me, friends, how do plants make food? I'm listening. If you said plants make food in their leaves using air, water, and sunlight, you're correct. Number 5, what did God design fruit for? Why did he make fruit? I'm listening. If you said that God designed fruit to protect the seeds of a plant, you're right. The fruit's job is to protect the seeds of a plant. Good job, friends. That will be all for today. But before we go, can I just show you our experiment? This has been sitting on our counter for the last week in our classroom. This plant I have given no water to. This plant I've given way too much water. And this plant just the right amount. Can you tell a difference yet? They're all rosemary plants. So far, I've been looking pretty closely, and I see a few more brown leaves starting to show up on this one. There's just a little bit here and not as many there. So I can barely tell a difference yet, but keep your eye out. Look for these plants on my counter, and we'll continue to give this plant no water, this plant too much water, and this plant just the right amount. And we'll continue to see how they change. All right, we have an exciting Super Science Friday at Pippenberg Park. We're going to be bringing our science journals. We're going to be bringing our books. We're going to be bringing our clipboards, our pencils, our hiking boots, and we're going to do a lot of discovering at Pippenberg Park on our hike. So I look forward to that day, and don't forget to watch the video that I posted on our Facebook page. There's a cool video about pollination. All right, friends, have a great day. Bye-bye.